Welcome back, guys. This is episode 19. This is part 2 with the episode with Gina. If you did not listen to part 1, I highly suggest you go back and listen to it right now. This is part 2. I hope you guys enjoy. This is the Kristen Ann Show, New York licensed social worker and board certified life coach. I just want to help you explore different ways to think. Thanks so much for tuning in. So when Frederick was, did we say he was 12 months, you said? Is that what you said?
Frederick was, when I started seeing stuff, about 17,
18 months. Okay. So
but the word regression is obviously the biggest red flag, for sure.
So regression, guys, basically means is that if
you had words and you lost them.
Right. Or with anything, right?
Anything, yeah.
So like any type of behavior that they were doing at some point, like let's say they were giving you,
and they just stopped.
So much eye contact, and then maybe a couple months later, no eye contact. Yeah. That's exactly what regression means for people that maybe.
And he had two of them.
He had two regressions. So it was the talking, and what else?
It was the talking, and then I would say like maybe 2 years into therapy, or a year and a half, he had a lot of vowel sounds that he got back with the help of his speech therapists, Gina and Jonathan. A lot of vowel sounds, and then all of a sudden they were gone right before school.
Recently,
he had like e, like a lot of good vowel sounds, and lost them. Just like stopped making those noises. It's very, very, very strange.
It's very interesting how it works, though, too, right?
Yeah.
The brain.
Yeah.
And I think that something that we may not really understand.
And he worked hard to.
I'm sure he did.
Because
therapy, people don't understand. Therapy for the child and for the family is very intense. So, like I said, I am an ABA therapist. So, my cases are Monday through Friday. It's either going to be an hour or 2 hours that I'm there with that one specific child.
ABA is usually 2 hours.
Yeah. So they either do an hour or two, depending upon the child and what they got, like for services. But it can be so intense, and for Gina to know, like, her son was doing all of these things and then regressing, I'm sure it made you feel some type of way.
Yeah, of course. It's like, well, you just don't understand.
That's the part. Like, when I feel like I don't understand something, it makes me go into like a frenzy. Like when 1 plus 1 equals 2, right? Very simple. When something like that just doesn't make sense.
It got to a point also where it's not that we're not working on words or sounds with him anymore, but it got to a point of now we have to give him something to rule out frustration.
So what do you mean by that?
To communicate. So my son uses an AAC device. It's a communication device.
Can you explain?
So it's a communication device on an iPad. And he requests his water, his juice, his foods, his snacks, when he wants to go in the pool, when he wants to take a walk. He's able to communicate through this app. It's called Prologue Wizard. It's great.
Wow. And now, was that also covered through insurance, or was that something that you guys had to pay?
No, that is something that, thank God, through the community, I found out there was a foundation called the DeSantis Foundation, who they give iPads to nonverbal children.
Wow. So anybody listening to this that feels like they need something like that, please reach out.
They were so kind to give us an iPad for Frederick. We paid for the app, the program, but they were,
Oh, so it's an app that I have to assume you pay monthly for? Or is it yearly?
You just pay
the flat fee.
Yeah.
So if anybody's that's interested in what Gina's talking about, please reach out to Gina.
Yeah, of course.
We're going to give you her Instagram at the end of this, so that, because I wouldn't have an idea on the parent side of it, like what you have to do on your end. But that's a really good resource to have. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Well, also, like, we don't want him to not be able to communicate to us in our home or outside of the home. He struggles with that connection. We want to give him something where he's able to communicate.
And you also said, because I'm sure it made it increasingly frustrating on his
Yeah.
end. Like, this is what I
He
want.
would bite himself because he was so frustrated because we did not understand what he was trying to
Communicate to you. And now this device is going to help him.
Yeah.
And
It
has
has decreased the biting. I mean, he still does it.
Okay.
We have a glove that covers his hand because at this point we just don't want him to like break his skin.
No, of course not.
But it has decreased frustration for him. I mean, I would say 70 to 80%.
That's pretty high.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He also bites because he enjoys the feeling, the sensory, the feeling.
Can we talk about sensory?
Yeah.
So let's talk about what sensory means. So a lot of this can be different for every single child, but I want Gina to explain again in very simple terms what it means for a child when they have a sense. Would you call it a sensory issue? Or would you call it like, actually you tell me, what exactly would you call it?
Well, we all have that. We all have sensory issues. We all stim. Tapping your leg, cracking your knuckles, playing with, that's stimming. We just know how to control it. They don't know how. That's also their way to express themselves when they're happy, when they're upset. So sensory is kind of like the same thing. So my son, for instance, we were just on vacation in Ocean City, Maryland. He does not like the feeling of sand on him. He was freaking out, wanted to go up back at the pool. But also, again, likes the waves, likes the way things look. That's sensory also.
Wait, I love
he's
the
a
fact
big
that
pool guy. He loves the water. That's sensory. It just makes them either feel good or feel bad.
Right. I love the fact that
But we have it too.
I love the fact that you said that, because we do have these sensory things, and we might not be on the spectrum, but I know for myself there's certain things that like I know I have to do to calm me down.
We know how to shut it off.
Well, that's the thing.
They don't.
That's the biggest difference, right? We know
we
how
can work
to
on that with them, but they don't know how to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Actually, like self-soothe in a way that's not hurting them.
Right. I mean, there's things that you could do, like there's brushing. My son loves when you just
so let's talk about
graze
that.
your nails on his skin.
Give us a couple of examples of like if somebody has a sensory issue, what would be the best things? Again, every child is different.
I guess kind of just letting them feel it. Like my son lives in the pool all summer long, and that's when he's the happiest.
Oh, so he loves the water.
Yeah. Loves the
water.
bath loves
time?
the bath, loves the shower, loves watching water fall out of buckets. A lot of his is visual.
His sensory, like what he sees, makes him feel good.
Yeah. So a lot of it is just like letting them do it, letting them explore. Like, don't be so standoffish about it. Let them like.
Now, what do you mean by that? Are we speaking?
I feel like a lot of people will look at these children or adults like it's strange, like it's weird. And you might be right. It's strange. It's weird. But it's just different.
It's different.
It's just different.
I feel like a lot of people aren't okay with different.
Yeah.
I think different is scary for some people.
I think they just don't know how to process it or react.
I think that's a good.
That's okay.
Sure.
It's okay.
I think it's a good thing to say. Is that
I was
some
probably
people
once that person too.
Absolutely, but then we just kind of you get a little bit older, you understand a little bit more, and things. You understand how to react and process it. Like, oh, okay, there's something going on. Like, all right. And I think this is a good segue into what would you want to give advice to parents whose children are not on the spectrum, but maybe in a school or have a friend who's on the spectrum? What would you want to give advice to those parents? What would you want to say?
Just think. I would definitely, for sure, educate your children on the differences of others.
And what's the best way to
explain it? This is 2022. Also, there's like
What's the best way that you think that you can explain it? Like, so if you were a parent,
just educate your children. Teach your children kindness. Teach them to include these other children, even if they don't, because autistic, children necessarily like to play by themselves. They like to play, independently. Just have your child bring them a toy, or sit beside them as they're playing. Just include them.
You know what it is, and I guess maybe it's hard for another child to understand that because
it's okay.
Because they normally just play with everybody else.
Yeah.
So that child may
But
seem
it starts at home.
Right.
It starts at home.
Right.
And what these kids see, that's what they're going to portray also. And what they learn, that's,
But one of the things, like you said, a child playing by themselves is something that they just like to do.
Yeah.
So if your child might feel a way of like, well, he doesn't want to play with me, or she doesn't want to play with me, like, so like I just don't want to like go near. Understood.
Stay beside them.
Understood. Stay beside them, right? So how can they
My
include?
son knows who is open to him, who is kind to him.
Now, how do you know that? How do you know he knows?
Because my son will grab people by the hand that he knows. A lot of people have this misconception of that they don't understand, that they don't feel, that they have no empathy. They actually have more empathy than a typical person.
Can we go into that? Let's talk about the misconceptions about children on the spectrum. So one of them would be that they know, number one, they know what's going on with like the feel. Like, I can feel if you like me or not.
My son understands everything that I'm saying to him.
Understands everything that you're saying to him.
He might not be able to communicate with me verbally, but he understands everything that I'm saying to him. And I feel like people will talk about a child on the spectrum or an adult on the spectrum as if they're not in the room. Stop doing that. They understand. You know what I'm saying?
So
they understand.
They're understanding
everything.
what's happening.
They feel everything. They're more
empathy.
More than a typical person. They probably feel too much.
That could be it too, right?
Yeah.
Feeling
but they don't
everything.
know how to process it.
Right.
They feel.
Which is interesting,
they
right?
Love,
Because like for me, like I feel like I feed off people's energy,
mm-hmm.
but like I know how to kind of like process.
We also have that social awareness. They don't.
Right. So a common misperception is that the child will know if you're talking about them.
Yeah.
If you're in the same room, probably listening, taking it all in. They might not be reacting to you, but they're listening.
Yeah.
The second one is empathy. They have a lot of empathy, and they can feed off your empathy. So like Gina was just explaining, if her son feels that someone is like warm towards him, he's going to call and take like their hand.
He knows like certain therapists will come in the house, and he knows what that therapist does with him. So he knows that his therapist takes him upstairs and they go play in his room, and he takes him by the hand and he leads them upstairs. He knows that with my mother, he has that bond where they go for walks together. So he grabs my mom and pulls her to the door because he wants to go for a walk with his grandmother.
Because he knows what they do with each other. So he knows.
He knows my husband plays with him, so he'll jump on my husband and want him to roughhouse with him a little bit. Where he knows with me, it's not to say my husband doesn't, show him, affection as well. But me, he knows this is my mommy.
Right. This is mommy.
Yeah.
It's mommy.
Yeah.
So we hit on, I think it was 3 did I say conceptions? Or what did I say? Perceptions? You guys know what I'm talking about. Misconceptions about children on the spectrum. So we got 3. Any more that you think that comes to mind for people that might not know anything about this and might think that, or not even think that, but they just don't really know. So what are other misconceptions that you think?
Just because a child is nonverbal doesn't mean they can't communicate. My son communicates. He communicates.
Now, when
he's nonverbal, but he could tell me exactly how he's feeling, what he wants to do, what he wants to eat.
How do you think that it would have went if you didn't have that device?
Before that, he would take my hand, and he still does once in a while. He'll take my hand to like the pantry or the refrigerator. But I like that this device and this program is more advanced, where he could tell me, "Oh, I want to go for a walk. I want to go to Country Donuts. I want to go in the pool." And it's just like some things that he requests on there. I'm like, whoa! I was like,
Country
damn, this kid is good at this thing.
Can I tell you something?
He loves donuts.
It's Country Donuts.
My son loves
on Richmond.
donuts.
Where is that?
Amboy.
It's Amboy.
There's one on Richmond Avenue also. You're talking about the one in Greenridge Plaza.
I am. That's the one I'm talking about.
My son loves a good donut.
Let me tell you something.
You want to win his heart? Bring him a damn donut.
I'm gonna have to come over and bring a donut. That's what I'm gonna have to do. Is that so? When Nick and I got this house back in 2020, we went to Country Donuts every morning, like to get like a smoothie because like we didn't have a kitchen or anything like that. It's just so funny that that's where he loves to go, and we
He'll
used
tell
to
me
go
right on
there
there that he wants to
all
go,
the time.
You know, the Country Donuts. He wants to go to Grandma's house, in the pool. But even activities. I want to color. I want to read a book. I want to play with bubbles. Like, he's able to, I mean, it's amazing. Great.
So is he able to bring this device into school?
So, no.
Okay.
I asked, and they want him right now to just start off with a very basic Go Talk, which is like isolated boxes, where Prologue is not isolated. It's an iPad. So they don't feel like he's ready for Prologue yet.
Can you explain what a Prologue is?
Prologue is the AAC communication device.
That's
well, the device is the iPad. The Prologue is a program.
Gotcha. So they want to start.
I should have brought it just to show.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, we can.
But he needs it at home.
We can like tag.
Yeah.
Put like tags under like the
I'll
on the
definitely
website, and we can show people exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah, I seen it actually on Instagram. There's a girl that I follow. Her name is Gracie. The page is Graciela Blooms, and the mom's name is Kelly. And I seen that she was doing this, and this girl is incredible. The things that she could do, she cooks. She cleans. She's a child on the spectrum.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
And she's like amazing. And I was so blown away by this page and this mother and this child that I reached out to the mom and I said, hey, and this was like the thick of it. I was depressed. I felt so alone. I didn't feel like a tremendous amount of support. So I remember reaching out to somebody that would get it. Somebody where I wouldn't feel as alone. Somebody I could talk to, another mother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I didn't know anybody. Before my son went to school, I didn't know anybody.
Wow.
Now I gained like a whole community, and a lot of my really good friends are mothers from my son's school. But before that, I didn't have anyone. So I reached out to this lady, Kelly, and I said, hey, do you mind if maybe we could chat on the phone and, you know, you could tell me about this program? And I got to tell you, we were on the phone for like 2.5 hours.
That makes me feel
just
really
like,
good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And this is somebody that you found on
Instagram.
Instagram.
Yeah, this is a stranger.
This is somebody that you found on Instagram.
She's from New York, but this is a stranger. She didn't have to talk to me.
No, absolutely not. She didn't have to give her time out of her day.
Yeah, and she does that for millions and millions of parents.
2 hours a day. 2 hours
2.5
for that phone call for
hours.
you.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's one of the things
and I
I
just
love
got
about
off just feeling like less alone. And she said to me, Gina, start it right away. Start it right away. And I didn't start it, you know, right when she said, you know, but shortly after I did. Because she said, you know, he could do it. He could do it. Start right away. Start it early as possible.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I really do love social media.
Mm-hmm.
I think that sometimes it can be really toxic and like just the way that you use it. If you're on it 24/7, you're consuming so many things in your brain. I think it could be too much at times.
Mm-hmm.
But it's another reason why I do love Instagram, because you're going to meet people that you would have never met before.
He changed my
You
heart.
felt like it calmed you down a little bit.
He changed my heart.
Why do you think he changed your heart?
Because I think that it makes you see the world differently. And it teaches you patience, and it teaches you love on a whole different level.
This kind of goes into like being a mom with a child with children on the spectrum.
Yeah.
You feel like it's different because do you feel like you're more empathetic than you were before?
Yes, and kinder. I mean, it sounds terrible to say, like,
no.
oh, I was a terrible person. You know, I wasn't
No,
a terrible person.
I don't think you were
I feel
terrible.
like it makes you, it changes your heart.
What about patience?
Oh God, big time.
Because I see it a lot, right? I work with children every day.
And a lot of it is like repetition.
Yeah. It's a lot of repetition.
And that's home too. Like even outside of therapy, like we have to.
Now,
a lot of repetition, a lot of like, you know.
Do you feel like you need to parent Frederick differently than you
Yes.
are than your
Without a
daughter?
doubt. Without a doubt.
Mm.
See, my daughter again is more high functioning. She's got more awareness.
How old is she?
She just turned 2. Yeah, she's a little peanut. She's
Yeah.
got more awareness, so she's not 100%, but she's more aware of like danger, and she's got more social awareness where he really does not.
Mm.
So I kind of have to like hold on to him at all times. He will elope. He will go.
Well, that goes into my next question.
He doesn't sense danger. He doesn't know a stranger. He knows just like.
That will go into the next question of what are the difficulties and maybe, I don't know if you want to call it struggles, whatever you want to call it, with having a child on the spectrum. How has it been for you? Like one of them you just said about him just going. Like just running.
Yeah, that's a struggle. Like you have to hold on to them 24/7. I think the fight is exhausting. The constant fight of making sure that you're doing everything that you could possibly do for this child to have somewhat of a normal life. Yeah. Just that constant, we're giving you 3 days of speech. No, this is a nonverbal child. I want 5. Like, that's unacceptable. Like, just why do I have to fight? Why do I have to fight? Why aren't things being given to him?
And plus, because you want it.
Yeah.
And
because he deserves it.
And he deserves it.
He deserves it.
And he deserves it.
As well as my daughter. They deserve it.
Right, so there's a different...
They deserve that help that they should be getting.
So it seems like your son requires a little bit more help than your daughter.
Yes.
So, like, if your daughter got 3 days, and your son got 3 days of speech, let's just say,
that's unheard of.
Then that's just something like...
That's unacceptable. He's
right.
nonverbal.
Right. Where your daughter is verbal?
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. So the struggle of always advocating and fighting for your child and for your children must be. I want to know what toll, and if you want to even get into that, the toll, the mental, physical toll that it actually takes out on a parent.
It's nonstop.
It's nonstop.
It's nonstop. It's exhausting. It's lonely. Like I said, I found a community within my son's school, but before that, I have my sister, I have my mother, I have my parents, I have my husband's family. It's different because, yes, they could be there for you, but they don't understand. Do you know what I'm saying?
They don't understand because they don't have a child.
You're not living it. Right. You're not living it.
If you're not living it every day, it's hard to understand.
Yeah.
It's not saying somebody can't be empathetic.
Even friends, you're not living it, so you don't understand.
Do you feel like your friends group changed?
Yes.
A lot?
Yes. There's a lot of people that I talk to here and there now that were best friends.
That were best friends?
Yeah.
Why do you think that made the change happen?
Just think that, maybe there's not a lot of understanding that my life is so different now that I can't exactly just do what I want whenever I want. I have therapists coming in and out of my house all day long, or I'm driving them to therapy or to daycare, or I'm on the phone with Medicaid, or I'm fighting with people to get more from my children. My life is different now. Not to say I lost every friend. I didn't. I still have the same. It's just different.
Sure.
It's just different.
And that's okay to say. Because like you said.
But I've gained also.
You're gaining, you lose.
I think your village changes.
I mean,
do you know what I'm saying?
To listen to my episode about friendship?
Your village, but
yeah,
but
it changes.
Not exactly like autism. I think anything. I just think that situations change people. And maybe they felt like they didn't have anything to relate to me anymore. Do you know what I'm saying?
I think
maybe they don't know. And I'm okay with somebody saying I don't know what to do for you. You know what I'm saying?
Like I'm not sure how to help.
Yeah, I didn't know how to be there for you.
Well, can we
All you
say
have
this?
to do is sit next to someone.
This is the next thing I wanted to say. Can you give advice?
Everybody's going through something, though. Everybody's going through something.
Can you give advice to, let's say...
My situation is just different, just like
Sure.
somebody else's might be, you know what I mean?
Sure. If somebody's listening and you have a friend who's a mom, whose child on the spectrum, can you give, Gina, can you give advice to that friend that's like, I don't know how to approach this. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. And you kind of
A
just
friend
said,
that doesn't have a child on the spectrum?
right.
How
to be a friend to that other
there.
to that other
You don't
friend.
have to say anything. Just be there. Sit beside them as they're crying. Just give them a hug. Plan a dinner with them just to take them out of the house for a little bit, because being in the house sometimes feels like a freaking prison because you're living the same life day to day. Take them out of the house. Take them to coffee. Call them up just to talk about something besides what's going on in, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's great.
Just
Because
be there.
I feel like a lot of people are like,
you don't have to say anything.
well, a lot of people are like, well, I don't know what to say, but that's perfect. You don't have to say anything. But just have somebody there physically, be there for you just to listen.
Yeah.
If you want to cry, if you want to vent.
Just listen. Just be there.
I think that's great. I think that's really, really great advice. Gina, is there
It's
anything?
really not difficult. I mean, maybe it is for somebody. But you don't have.
I don't. Yeah.
Would it be difficult for you?
I don't think so, because I'm around it so much. So it wouldn't be difficult for me, unless that person doesn't want to talk about it. So like, you know what I mean? So it might be more like you kind of tread how they tread, and. But I think the advice that you gave was perfect.
Yeah.
Like just being there for somebody
That's
physically, and just if it's just hanging out,
But
taking
maybe
them
it
out of the
sounds
house.
easy to me, where it's not.
It sounds
for
easy.
them.
Sure.
I'm also very understanding of that other person also, because I wouldn't know what to say either. But I think that if it were roles reversed, I think that I would sit beside them on their couch.
And just listen.
Yeah.
I agree.
You know?
I agree. Yeah. So let's
sweating.
let's get into.
Sorry about the tan lines.
That's okay. The tan lines. Are you kidding? I wish I had tan lines.
It looks so red.
Oh, I have one. A little bit.
Yeah, not so much.
Okay. We'll be here all day. Let's get into the early signs that you saw with your daughter.
I feel like I was already on guard with her because it's so common in siblings. So I was already watching her like a hawk. It sounds terrible to say.
It's not terrible.
But I think that I already, even like with Frederick, like when I started suspecting things, like I already knew it. Like you didn't have to I didn't need a doctor to tell me. And I feel like I already mourned that child.
What do you mean by that?
Well, because of the regressions, my son was completely different. He was talking, he was social. I have a video of like him playing with his cousin from Texas, and they were like giggling and laughing and playing behind a curtain and looking at me and laughing and smiling. He doesn't really do that anymore. Like it's a completely, it sounds terrible to say, but you mourn the loss of that child.
I don't think it's terrible to say, because I think that's the
sobbed
truth.
every night in his bed, like praying next to him. You know? I feel like I did that all then. Sorry.
No.
Yeah. I did that all then. You know? So I felt it all in my gut. I didn't need a doctor to tell me. I knew it. I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
For both. I knew what was going on.
Well, you were prepared.
And with my daughter, I was on guard.
Sure, you were prepared. You knew what you were looking for, even though you probably knew with Frederick anyway.
I think it was easier for the doctor to diagnose because of Frederick for my daughter.
So he might have felt a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
We kind of.
I wasn't expecting it either. When I took her at 15 months, and she diagnosed, I really wasn't expecting it, and I remember the whole ride home just sobbing to my husband. Again, I knew it. But it's still like that. Being told,
sure,
was rough.
You were hoping that maybe you would be wrong.
Yeah,
I understand.
Well, I also felt like she was like just a little bit of like the first thing was, I mean, it sounds silly to somebody, but like in the bathtub, I would notice like the sensory of her. She would hum while she was playing with the water. And I mean like hum the whole time in the bath. So for me, I'm like.
So registered to you is this
But I thought maybe like ADHD, because sometimes they have more sensory issues than a child on the spectrum.
Okay.
So for me, I was like, maybe this is just, it's not that, and it's just she's,
I think it makes sense, Gina. Like, you already went through that with Frederick, and it's like, do I have to do this again? Is this happening again?
It's also like, am I not going to see my daughter get married? And am I not going to see my son get married? So I mean, it sounds selfish, but like,
it's not selfish.
That's where you go. It sounds selfish because you're not thinking about the kid, you're thinking about yourself. But am I not going to experience those things?
But I think it goes back to what you were saying before about mourning.
So I think that's what you get in the beginning, that's what really cuts you. That's what you feel so deeply, because those are things that other people are going to experience that we might not. And that's okay.
Well, we always have this idea.
We've accepted that now, and that's okay, and it's still not a no. It's just...
We have an idea of, like, what we see.
We live day to day, and we just don't know,
We have an idea in our mind of, like, X, Y, and Z. Job, career, kids.
Yeah, exactly.
So when it doesn't happen the way that you thought it was
also,
going to
like,
happen.
me and my husband, this was IVF, both of them. We struggled to even get pregnant. And this is what happened. You know what I mean? So it's also like, really?
I can understand.
After that struggle? Really?
Right, you felt like I struggled getting pregnant.
Yeah. And
now I'm pregnant.
But I don't want to say that either, because it's not, I love my children.
Sure. But I think it's okay that we're talking about this, because maybe, like, how you're coming off, it's like, oh, I don't want to say this, but it's okay to say it because I feel like somebody else needs to hear it. Somebody else needs to be like,
sure.
Oh my God.
I wish I had.
Right. Well, you're doing what you wish you had. So I'm proud of you. That this is not an easy topic to talk about two special little humans that are so special to you, and
but also the parents.
And the parents, absolutely.
Perspective,
And the parents' perspective, because I think that's really important to know. So let's shake it off. Let's shake it off. Let's fucking end it. Let's fucking end it. We're done. No.
But that was where the page.
So let's get into the page. Can everybody
Besides
please...
Gina harassing me.
Besides my sister harassing her. I want you guys to go follow my friend. Can you give everybody your Instagram page?
It is Reel, REEL, like as in like videos.
Oh, Reel. Yeah, right.
Real funny with Gigi, Gigi.
And I'm going to
Gigi came from like my nieces and nephews. I think that's what Gigi was like created.
I love that, Gigi. I'm going to put that on my show notes. So if you guys didn't catch that, we're going to put it on the show notes on the podcast so you guys can go take a look at it. Yeah. I appreciate you coming here. You're a fucking rock star. I appreciate
you like bringing this topic to
Of course.
To light.
Absolutely. It is my pleasure. My friends, this is my friend Gina. Go give her a follow. Thank you so much for tuning in. We love you guys.
Bye. Thanks.
Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, please like, share, follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Also, come follow me on Instagram, _Kristen_Ann88. And if you're ready to take the next step because you fucking deserve it, come take a look at my website on Instagram,